Hi, I'm Dave Gardy for CyberSecurity TV from our studios here near Washington, D.C. for the second in a series of STIG Compliance TV programs. And with us in the studio right now is Brian Hajost, who is the CEO and president of a company called SteelCloud. Thanks for joining us, Brian.
Thank you.
Give us an overview. Describe us how STIGs affect COTS applications and what vendors can do to better support government customers.
Well, I think STIGs are an issue for all of technology. Many times we think about it on those applications that are written specifically for the government, but many applications that are deployed across the government are normal commercial applications. They have to all conform to the same STIGs that the government written applications have to conform to. So those things that break those applications, those things that make them harder to install and support, affect both GOTS and COTS applications and the vendors that develop them, install them, and support them.
And how do STIGs affect application installation and operation?
Well, you have both the installation side and the operation. I'll step back to the operation side. STIGs are controls in the environment that the application's installed. STIGs break applications in different ways, and they break different applications in certain ways so that an application vendor has to know or should know how their application responds to a STIG environment, know which of those controls have to be relaxed or which of those controls have to be wavered in order to allow their application to install and to be able to be operated.
So talk a little bit about waivers, why they exist and why they impact cost accreditation and support.
Well, the STIGs are represented by thousands of controls on a given application platform. Say, Windows 2016 or Red Hat 7, there are hundreds and hundreds of controls that have to be applied. One or more of those controls will cause the application installed not to be functional. So those controls have to be then removed or relaxed. So a waiver is the process the government goes through to allow an environment to relax a control that has been specified in the STIGs. So some of those controls, it would be very difficult to waiver those controls that the government would say the system's too vulnerable. Others are less so, but waivers are something that have to be approved to get an application through the accreditation and give it an authorization to operate, and then are reviewed on a yearly basis to make sure, one, they're both necessary, and two, that they're not providing an undue burden or undue vulnerability on the environment.
What options are available for hardening STIG controls around an application?
Well, the most effective way would be for the vendor or the developer of the application to do it one time and then to publish the results of that. But typically how it's done in the government is every command or component or agency that installs that application has to figure out, which sometimes takes weeks or months, which controls have to be loosened. Then they have to be individually wavered. So you see that the level of effort is duplicated dozens, sometimes hundreds of times across the government for common applications.
And who does that?
Well, today it's typically either the government themselves, or the government is operating as their own integrator and support organization, but many times it's the integrator who has the program that is responsible for installing and supporting an application set. They are responsible for going through this hardening effort. But at the end of the day, it's being paid for by the government, either the government's own staff doing it or the government having one of their mission partners do it.
What are the best options for supporting government customers and applications in a STIG-compliant environment?
Well, if you think about the impact of hardening around an application and how that affects the government across hundreds of installations, it makes a lot more sense to do that one time and publish that information so that each of those installation environments can take advantage of that one time. Now, again, it can be left to the government, and the application vendor can say, we don't care about it, it's not our responsibility. Or what we're finding, especially in the last kind of 12 to 18 months, is the application vendors are taking more responsibility and saying, We will test our application in a government environment, a STIG-compliant environment. We'll determine what breaks, we'll determine whether we can fix it, but at least we will publish those so it will be easy for the government and the government mission partners to install and support their applications.
So how can SteelCloud help the whole process?
Well, we have a number of technology vendors that have come to us and say, we'd like to develop, test, deploy, and support in a STIG-compliant environment. Is there technology to allow us to do this easily and cost-effectively? So we provide a security application technology that allows any COTS vendor to test their application in a STIG-compliant environment, determine the waivers, and publish those to their customers in the government.
So what's the key takeaway regarding technology vendors?
Well, I think the thing is there's a tremendous burden that all cybersecurity applies to applications. The technology vendor can either take on the responsibility and say, we'll do a better job of understanding the government environment and producing products that are easy to install and support, or not. And again, we're finding more and more vendors are saying, what can we do to help?
Excellent. Well, we appreciate the time you've taken here in the second in a series of STIG Compliance TV programs. I've been talking with Brian Hajost, who is the CEO of a company called SteelCloud. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm Dave Gardy for CyberSecurity TV and the STIG Compliance TV series. Thanks for joining us from Washington, D.C.